Alright, hello everyone. In this video, this class will want to complete the remaining portion of group analysis. So in the last class we had done till group 2B. We'll want to begin with group 3 today. Chances are in this video, we'll go past all the radicals which are there in All India syllabus. If you remember, I had given you the entire chart, the entire table containing all the radicals in their respective groups along with the reagents and the precipitates. So today we will complete all the radicals which are there in our syllabus, and I must have told you that more than the tests and the results, what's important is the order or the sequence of testing. So please recall that the order or the testing, the order of testing the radicals is such that all of them are individually precipitated and even separated in the course of testing the radicals in the original sample. I've been trying to do different things. This is going to be a whiteboard, real classroom recording. Keep on assuring that the video and audio quality is going to be better every time. The least I can assure though is the content will be good and very useful. So make sure you copy down everything and you keep on revising it till the point all of this is there at the back of your mind while you're solving questions. While solving questions, we'll see the sequence of testing is what is there in the exams very often. So we begin with group 3, and before moving to group 3, this is what we do between group 2 and group 3. After testing for group 2, before moving to group 3, remember in group 3 the radicals were iron, chromium, aluminium. The reagent is ammonium chloride and ammonium hydroxide. Rather, hydroxides are the precipitates which you want: iron hydroxide, ferric hydroxide, chromium hydroxide and aluminium hydroxide. Recall the table which I had given you. So before we move to group 3 or between group 2 and group 3, there are a few practices. One, this is a common practice, boil off H2S. It's a common practice. Before moving to a new group, you want to boil off the previous group reagent. So first of all, before going to group 3, you will want to boil off H2S. If there was a positive test for group 2, you will filter it out and do a confirmatory test. Otherwise, with the filtrate, this is what you do. First of all, you boil off H2S. You boil off H2S, which is the previous group radical, previous group reagent. Then you add a little bit of nitric acid. A little bit of nitric acid is added to convert ferrous to ferric. A little bit of nitric acid is added. It's an oxidizing agent to convert ferrous to ferric. Because ferric hydroxide is easier to precipitate, I have written here ferric hydroxide has a lower KSP than ferrous hydroxide. So the iron which we want to test or precipitate in group 3 is in the ferric form. Ferric hydroxide having lower KSP value is easier to precipitate. You add a little bit of nitric acid before moving to group 3 because you want to oxidize ferrous to ferric. Ferric hydroxide having lower KSP, I repeat, is easier to precipitate. You use a calculated amount of nitric acid because if you add a lot of nitric acid, some other radicals like manganese could become manganic and can precipitate in group 3 itself. So you use a small amount of nitric acid. Even if you know that the iron in the sample is in the ferric form, still you want to add nitric acid because this H2S would have reduced ferric to ferrous. Even if it was ferric to begin with, you will still want to add nitric acid because group 2 reagent would have reduced ferric to ferrous. So this is something you need to do every time. Either you start with a new sample where you did not add H2S at all, or you will want to add nitric acid so that you convert ferrous to ferric, which is easier to precipitate. Now group 3 reagent, ammonium hydroxide in presence of ammonium chloride. Same stuff, common in effect. Ammonium hydroxide, NH4 plus OH minus, reversibility, weak base, weak electrolyte. You add ammonium chloride before ammonium hydroxide. Ammonium chloride is added before ammonium hydroxide. Because ammonium chloride, because of common ion effect, strong electrolyte, weak electrolyte, common ion is like adding a product to this equilibrium. This equilibrium will be pushed back and the concentration of OH minus will be controlled. So again, this is something which we have seen in the past as well. The role of ammonium chloride is to give so much of ammonium such that this equilibrium is pushed back and the amount of OH minus is always in check. You want to control or regulate the amount of OH minus so that the lower group hydroxides do not precipitate, like zinc hydroxide or manganese hydroxide. So you want to control OH minus so that only group 3 hydroxides are precipitated, and for that you are using ammonium chloride for common ion effect. So naturally, if ammonium chloride is supposed to control this equilibria, it has to be added before ammonium hydroxide. So the sequence is, first of all, boil off H2S, the previous group reagent, then add a little bit of nitric acid, and then add ammonium chloride before ammonium hydroxide. I must have told you, these are like very common questions for your Viva as well. The Viva, which is their a routine practical exam. So even in Viva, these are like very common questions. We'll want to move to group 3 now. We'll want to begin with group 3 precipitate. We have added ammonium hydroxide, ammonium chloride. And if there is a precipitate, it's either iron, chromium or aluminium. If there is a precipitate, it's either iron, aluminium or chromium. So we'll want to talk of group 3 precipitate right now. Right away, group 3 precipitate, which could be ferric hydroxide, aluminium hydroxide or chromium hydroxide. The colors are very popular. This is reddish brown, this is gelatinous white. Gelatinous white is always used for aluminium hydroxide. I've told you about curdy white, cloudy white in the past. Chromium salts are green, this is a green precipitate, but we do not go by the color. We do not go by the color because if suppose it's a mixture of aluminium and chromium, then naturally it will appear green only. It will not give you a white color. If white and green, they come together, it will look green only. So we do not go by the color. We want to do the confirmatory test. Yes, if there is a precipitate, it's either iron, aluminium or chromium. So what do you add first? First of all, we add HCl. And this is where I start talking about the sequence. You have a precipitate, filter it out, add HCl. If it is soluble, it's ferric chloride, FeCl3. And once it's soluble, you can go ahead with the confirmatory test. We'll talk about the confirmatory test of iron. You know, some popular confirmatory test of iron I have told you in the past, but you want to dissolve it first and then do the confirmatory test. If it's insoluble in HCl, then it's either aluminium or chromium. Now you want to add NaOH. Now NaOH will precipitate aluminium hydroxide, chromium hydroxide, which are already there in the precipitate form. In excess of NaOH, aluminium hydroxide, the insoluble aluminium hydroxide will dissolve as sodium aluminate. It's a typical amphoteric behavior. Aluminate, zincate, they dissolve in excess NaOH. Now, if it dissolves in excess of NaOH, soluble, you can do the confirmatory test of aluminium. Although for aluminium, the confirmatory test is a dry test. We'll talk about it at some point of time. If it does not dissolve in excess NaOH, and this is important, then you add H2O2 or you add bromine water. Now, when you add H2O2 or bromine water, naturally they are oxidizing. And if it was insoluble in excess NaOH and if it becomes soluble in bromine water or H2O2, it's because of sodium chromate. Chromates are yellow, sodium salts are soluble. This is soluble sodium chromate, which is a yellow solution. Now, this dissolves in NaOH and this requires NaOH plus bromine water or an oxidizing agent. This is important. Both are +3 in form of hydroxides. Aluminate is +3, but chromate the chromium is +6. So these are small little things which you'll need to know. That this formed aluminate soluble, this formed chromate soluble. Now this required only NaOH and here you had to add an oxidizing agent as well because there is an increase in oxidation number. Here +3 remains +3, where here chromium +3 has to become +6. NaOH cannot cause oxidation. NaOH is not an oxidizing agent. So I hope this much of wisdom is going to dawn upon you with time, with more cases seen, and this is something which you will want to know logically. Dissolving in NaOH, it's aluminium, requiring an oxidizing agent to form a chromate, which sounds very similar to an aluminate, is going to require an oxidizing agent because you know there is a change of oxidation number. Basically, there is an oxidation here which is required. So only NaOH cannot pull off this change. You need to add an oxidizing agent. Now this is soluble. You can get so many chromates as confirmatory precipitates. You know about lead chromate, you know about barium chromate, lead chromate, barium chromate, which are precipitates, yellow precipitates. So that will be a confirmatory test of chromium. You can do the confirmatory test of chromium. For aluminium, I told you the confirmatory test will be a dry test, and we'll want to talk about the confirmatory test of iron. So many of them, all of them equally important, but I think the entire sequence is understood. When you add a reagent ammonium hydroxide and before that you add ammonium chloride, you get a precipitate. It's either iron, aluminium or chromium. First of all, add HCl. If it's soluble, ferric chloride. Ferric chloride is yellow. Very popular solution, ferric chloride, yellow solution. Ferric salts are yellow, ferrous salts are green, chromium salts are green. Aluminium hydroxide is the only gelatinous white you will see in your syllabus. Aluminium hydroxide dissolves in excess of NaOH because it can form aluminate, and chromium hydroxide can form chromate soluble but requires an oxidizing agent because there is an increase in oxidation number. So all of this is very naturally and very understood by basic chemistry involved. Chromate, so many precipitates, lead chromate, barium chromate, yellow precipitates, chromates are yellow. Told you about a red chromate, if you remember, silver chromate is a particular red chromate. So lead chromium can be conformed that way, and aluminium dry test, iron, we'll see the confirmatory test now. But do recall the sequence, and the confirmatory test of iron, I repeat, is very, very important. Some of them are what you see in coordination compounds as well. So chances are you would have seen ferric with K4FeCN6, the most common test of ferric chloride or ferric ions. Ferric with ferrocyanide will give you Fe4FeCN6 whole thrice. Fe4FeCN6 whole thrice, a very popular shade of blue which is called Prussian blue. A very popular shade of blue which is called Prussian blue. Now because it's from the combination of ferri and ferrocyanide, Prussian blue is also popularly called ferriferrocyanide. It's also popularly called ferriferrocyanide. Ferriferrocyanide because it's coming from the combination of ferric ions and ferrocyanide. Remember the name Prussian blue. I'm giving you the old formula to begin with because so many times this is also relevant. A very similar reaction is, although not in the context of group analysis because you are testing for ferric, but still a very similar reaction is, and I want to discuss it together, is if ferro reacts with ferricyanide. If ferro reacts with ferricyanide, you see the difference. This is ferrocyanide, this is ferricyanide, and this time you get Fe3FeCN6 whole twice. This time you get Fe3FeCN6 whole twice. One way to remember the two formula is this is 43, this is 32. One way to remember the formula is 43, 32, and this time because it's a combination of ferroions and ferricyanide, you might want to call it ferroferricyanide. Ferroferricyanide, a shade of blue which is very popularly called Turnbull's blue. Very popularly called Turnbull's blue, and initially it was supposed to be chemically ferroferricyanide. Chemically it was supposed to be ferroferricyanide. Naturally the one before Prussian blue was ferriferrocyanide. Although I'm referring to the old school of thought, these were the questions which were very common in the 90s of IIT and different exams. Now both shades of blue differ very marginally, and X-ray analysis confirms that both Prussian blue and Turnbull's blue could be represented by a common formula. So now this is the new school of thought, this is the new current information. Chances are now the questions will require this piece of information. Now both Prussian blue and Turnbull's blue can be represented with a common formula, KFeFeCN6. Now this is the new idea, new formula. You can call it ferroferricyanide or ferriferrocyanide. You go about balancing by oxidation number. This will be -6 plus 1. So these together will be +5. Ferroferri or ferriferro. This is the common formula by which both of them can be represented. This is the common formula by which both of them can be represented. I repeat, this is the new school of thought. Now currently questions are based on this information, but you might well have a question coming from the old school of thought. So I want to give you all of the information which is required. 43, 32, Prussian blue, Turnbull's blue, now both are referred as KFeFeCN6. X-ray analysis confirms that they can have a common formula, and the difference in the shade of blue is because of an ion exchange mechanism. Depending upon the amount of ferro or ferri which is inside or outside the coordination sphere, there is an equilibrium, ion exchange equilibrium, which controls the amount of ferro and ferri inside and outside the coordination sphere, and depending upon that ratio, that ionic exchange, the color would be either a Prussian blue or a Turnbull's blue, depending whether in the solution, in the external medium, you have more of ferri or more of ferro. But now both of them have been given the same formula. This is for both Prussian blue as well as Turnbull's blue. This certainly is the most important confirmatory test of iron. Along with this, we know about ferrithiocyanide, blood red. Ferrithiocyanide, so you add a thiocyanide, ferrithiocyanide is blood red, plus ferric acetate. All acetates are soluble, not a problem. Ferric acetate, it's also blood red. So these are again two very common colored tests of ferric. Ferric thiocyanide is blood red, ferric acetate is blood red, and all these equations are very common, very exam relevant. So make sure you copy all of them, you remember all of them, and now we can move to group 4. We're done with group 3, we move to group 4. If you have a look at the table which I had given you, group 4, again you want to add H2S, this time in alkaline medium. In group 2 it was an acidic medium. We were done with that discussion in the previous video. In group 4 you want to add H2S in alkaline medium because you want a lot of sulfide, and this time you are expecting sulfides which are having higher Ksp value, 4 radicals, zinc, manganese, cobalt, nickel to precipitate. So we'll want to talk about group 4 precipitates right now. The reagent you remember is H2S in alkaline medium, and the radicals are zinc, manganese, cobalt and nickel. Maybe very quickly I'll have a small reference of all of it, and then we'll go with the sequence of testing group 4 precipitate. So the reagent in group 4 is H2S in alkaline medium, NH4OH and NH4Cl. The medium is alkaline deliberately to precipitate radicals which are zinc, manganese, cobalt or nickel. This time you want precipitates having higher Ksp values. So the precipitates expected are zinc sulfide, manganese sulfide, cobalt sulfide, nickel sulfide. Zinc sulfide is white, zinc salts are white. MnS had a particular color, buff color, it's a shade of pink, flesh, and these two are black. You get a precipitate on adding H2S in alkaline medium after testing group 2, any of these 4. But before testing group 2, if you add H2S in alkaline medium and you get a precipitate, it could be group 2 as well as group 4. If it's H2S in acidic medium, it's only group 2 because these precipitates are difficult to precipitate. Higher Ksp value will require more sulfide in alkaline medium, so they require alkaline medium. Alkaline medium confirms only group 4, but acidic medium, it could be group 2. Acidic medium confirms only group 2, alkaline medium could be group 2 as well as group 4. So naturally they are tested after you are done with the test of group 2 sulfides, and we'll want to begin with group 4 precipitates. Group 4 precipitates, zinc, manganese, cobalt or nickel. What do we add first? Group 4 precipitate, group 4 sulfide. Group 4 precipitate, group 4 sulfide. Zinc, manganese, cobalt, nickel. What do we add first? First of all, we add HCl. Now, if it's soluble, it's either zinc or manganese. Now, insoluble in HCl will require aqua regia. You know about aqua regia, king of solvents? A 3:1 ratio of HCl and nitric acid. Nascent chlorine is the species responsible for dissolving. So aqua regia will dissolve something which is not soluble in normal acids. And because chlorine is responsible, nascent chlorine is responsible for dissolution, the soluble stuff are chlorides. So if it's soluble, it's zinc or manganese. If it's insoluble, you add aqua regia to dissolve them and get cobalt chloride and nickel chloride. So these two are soluble in aqua regia, these two are soluble in HCl. We'll want to begin with this pair initially. Zinc and manganese, you add NaOH. Both fall off. Both are precipitates. Zinc hydroxide as well as manganese hydroxide. Both are precipitate. We don't go by color right away, when they are precipitates. You add excess NaOH. And zincate, aluminate, this is an amphoteric behavior. This becomes soluble. So if it is soluble in excess of NaOH, it's zinc. If it's soluble in excess of NaOH, it's zinc. You can do the confirmatory test of zinc via a dry test like aluminium, or for zinc, I can give you a test right away, because we have been talking about this reagent, very popular reagent. Finally, we are asked how many radicals this can test. This is such a common reagent. So this was testing copper, chocolate brown, iron, ferric, Prussian blue, and with zinc, Zn2FeCN6, Zn2FeCN6 is bluish white. It's bluish white. So this is going to give you a confirmatory test of. This is going to give you a confirmatory test for zinc as well, bluish white color. We'll talk about some dry test of zinc as well. Excess NaOH soluble is sodium zincate. MnOH whole twice could be oxidized or heated. It could be oxidized or heated to MnO2, which is a black compound. MnO2, which is a black compound. Now this MnO2 black precipitate, either on heating manganese hydroxide or oxidizing manganese hydroxide, this MnO2 black compound could be treated with nitric acid and red lead, Pb3O4. Both are oxidizing agents, and they would give you HMnO4, permanganate, potassium permanganate. This naturally is the mother acid. It's permanganic acid. This naturally is furnishing the MnO4 minus permanganate, which is a pink radical, pink. So KMnO4 also gets pink color because of MnO4 minus. Permanganic acid is pink, and we are done with zinc and manganese now. What if it was insoluble in HCl to begin with? Cobalt or nickel, dissolve in aqua regia, get the chloride, and between cobalt and nickel, there is a common test. Sodium bicarbonate and bromine water. If you get an apple green solution, then this is cobaltic carbonate, sodium cobaltic carbonate. This is sodium cobaltic carbonate. Cobalti will help you in recalling the formulae, apple green solution, and if this is a black precipitate, it's Ni2O3. Black precipitate, it's Ni2O3. Naturally, this can be filtered out as well. The two can be separated as well. There are two very popular confirmatory tests of nickel and cobalt as well. I'll come to that, once I remove this clutter, once I rub it off. I'll tell you about two more tests, individual tests for nickel and cobalt. But yet again, before I go into those two tests of nickel and cobalt, the sequence. H2S in alkaline medium, group 4, zinc, manganese, cobalt, nickel. What do you add first? HCl. Soluble zinc or manganese. Add NaOH, both will precipitate as hydroxide. Excess NaOH, only zinc will dissolve. Manganese hydroxide could be heated or oxidized to MnO2 black, which can be oxidized using nitric acid, dissolved and oxidized using red lead and nitric acid to permanganic acid pink. If it was insoluble in HCl, you use aqua regia to dissolve as chlorides of nickel and cobalt. A common test is sodium bicarbonate bromine water. Apple green solution will confirm cobalt. This is the complex sodium cobaltic carbonate, whereas the black precipitate will confirm nickel. Ni2O3 is a black compound. You'll want to know the sequence, you will want to recall the reactions. The sequence is more important, and then I'll come to those two tests which I was talking about for nickel and cobalt. So hopefully you would copy it at your convenience, and then we'll take up the confirmatory test of nickel and cobalt. For nickel, it's again a very popular test which you would have maybe seen in a topic like coordination compounds. For nickel, a confirmatory test is nickel with DMG, dimethyl glyoxime in alkaline medium. It has to be alkaline medium. Gives you a rosy red precipitate. Now, how do you recall the formulae? You remember oxime. So, glyoxime is the oxime of glyoxal. Glyoxal is ethane 1,2-diol. So, what will be the oxime of glyoxime? The oxime of glyoxime has to be C double bond N OH. This is the glyoxime, and from glyoxal, naturally this is glyoxal. This is glyoxal, ethane 1,2 diol. So इसका oxime will look like this, and dimethyl means the 2 hydrogen will be replaced by 2 methyl groups. Now 2 moles of this with nickel in alkaline medium will give you a complex like this. This is the complex which you get. Nickel at the center. NOH. This is a complex which is rosy red in color. Remember, to get this rosy red precipitate, you need to keep the medium alkaline. I'll come to that again when the time is right. But this is the rosy red precipitate between dimethyl glyoxime alkaline and nickel. For cobalt, a popular test is cobalt with KNO2 and acetic acid. Excess of KNO2 and acetic acid will give you a precipitate, a yellow precipitate. Now this is very unique. It's a very unique precipitate. A yellow precipitate, and by the time I write it, suppose I give you the formula K3CONO2 6. It's also a cobalty complex. Potassium cobalty nitrite, yellow precipitate. Now what's so unique about this precipitate? It's a potassium salt. I would have told you so many times, sodium potassium salts, ammonium salts, group 1 compounds are never precipitates. Alkali metals do not give precipitates. It's very unlikely that you will see any other precipitate of potassium. So a precipitate of potassium is very, very rare. This is one of them, potassium cobalty nitrite. And potassium cobalty nitrite, yellow precipitate, by adding cobalt with KNO2 acetic acid is a confirmatory test of cobalt as well. So this is what we wanted to know in group 4. We move to group 5. Where we get carbonate precipitates of barium, calcium, strontium. I hope you will want to copy this again at your convenience. We will want to move to group 5. And again a little bit of briefing. The table which I had given you must have included group 5. And in group 5, the reagent was ammonium carbonate. This was the principal reagent in presence of ammonium hydroxide and ammonium chloride. They will be playing the role of Common effect and all, keeping the medium alkaline as well. Ammonium carbonate. The radicals are closely related: barium, calcium, strontium, all three of group 2 alkaline earth metals. And naturally the precipitates are barium carbonate, strontium carbonate, calcium carbonate. These are group 5 precipitates. All white, all the 3 are white. Carbonates, group 2 carbonates, white in color. So group 5 contains 3 radicals, barium, strontium, calcium, 3 white precipitates. There is a particular sequence again of testing these radicals, and this sequence is so particular that the testing of group 5 is popularly called testing in order. It's popularly called testing in order. I'll tell you what happens. Once you get a group 5 precipitate, any of these 3, you treat them with acetate. Remember, I told you all acetates are soluble. So you get the acetates, all acetates are soluble. And now I need to tell you an information. For barium, you can have 3 precipitates. Barium chromate is a precipitate, barium sulfate is a precipitate, and barium oxalate is a precipitate. For strontium, only strontium sulfate and strontium oxalate is a precipitate. For calcium, even calcium sulfate is not completely insoluble. Calcium sulfate under the conditions could be soluble. So only calcium oxalate is a precipitate. So you have to have this information at hand कि barium का ये तीनों precipitate हो सकता है, strontium का ये 2 precipitate होता है. Barium can be precipitated as chromate, sulfate or oxalate. Strontium is precipitated only as sulfate and oxalate. Strontium chromate is soluble. And calcium ka only oxalate is a typical precipitate. Now you always add these 3 reagents in sequence. chromate, then sulfate, and then oxalate. Remember, you always add these three in a sequence: chromate, then sulfate, then oxalate. Because if you add oxalate, see, all the three will precipitate again. If you add oxalate, if you start with oxalate, all the three will precipitate again. So if you start with sulfate, then both will precipitate. Once you have got a precipitate and dissolved it, it could be any one or all three of them. Remember, group 5 precipitate could be any one or all three of them. So you want to dissolve all three, if even present together as acetate, and you want to begin with chromate, where only barium will precipitate. So at this point, this is the first radical which you add. If there is a precipitate, you can confirm barium confirmed. ये सबके लिए ना अल्कली मेटल्स, अल्कलाइन अर्थ मेटल्स के लिए फ्लेम टेस्ट होता है. ग्रुप 1 ग्रुप 2 के लिए फ्लेम टेस्ट होता है. बेरियम एप्पल ग्रीन, कैल्शियम ब्रिक रेड, स्ट्रॉन्सियम क्रिम्सन रेड, यू नो. तो इसका फ्लेम टेस्ट होता है, ड्राई टेस्ट होता है. ये एक वेट टेस्ट होता है शुरू में, जो सिर्फ ये ऑर्डर से समझ में आ जाता है. हमेशा इसको सीक्वेंस में ही डालेंगे. इसको बोलते हैं टेस्टिंग इन ऑर्डर. दिस इज कॉल्ड टेस्टिंग इन ऑर्डर. दिस इज कॉल्ड टेस्टिंग इन ऑर्डर. This is called testing in order. Group 5 radicals are tested in order. Again, a common question may be for your Viva exam. पहले कार्बोनेट का प्रेसिपिटेट आया, तीनों को डिसॉल्व किए. सबसे पहले क्रोमेट डालते हैं. ऑक्सीलेट डालोगे तो वापस तीनों आ जाएगा. सल्फेट डालोगे तो ये दोनों आ सकता है. क्रोमेट डालने से सिर्फ यही आएगा. अगर आता है बेरियम, फिल्टर करो, फिल्ट्रेट में फिर ये डालो. अगर यहाँ पर प्रेसिपिटेट आता है, इफ देयर इज अ प्रेसिपिटेट, बिकॉज यू हैव ऑलरेडी रिमूव्ड बेरियम, स्ट्रॉन्सियम इज कन्फर्म्ड. And when you have removed both barium and strontium, now if you add oxalate and there is a precipitate, then only calcium is confirmed. Naturally, you have dry test as very peculiar confirmatory test of these radicals. So you know this much for group 5, and this fact, which is testing in order, I repeat, is very significant and peculiar to this group. After this, only 2 groups are left. Both contain 1 radical each. So you know we are nearing the end of the topic right now. Maybe a couple of more reactions. Group 6 contains magnesium. Group 6 contains magnesium, and for magnesium the reagent was disodium hydrogen phosphate. For magnesium the reagent was disodium hydrogen phosphate. So maybe a few more minutes, a couple of more reactions, and we'll be done with group analysis. This will be followed by flame test and problem solving. Once you have this entire sequence and the first hand test and the confirmatory test of all these radicals known and recalled, problem solving will be fun. Trust me, problem solving will be fun. Plus, I must have told you this is a segment which people are not very good at. So if you are good at it, you have an edge. You will want to recall all the effort we have made, you know, from class 1 till this point. Group 6 contains magnesium. Reagent is disodium hydrogen phosphate in presence of ammonia, and magnesium ammonium phosphate. Magnesium ammonium phosphate, a white precipitate. Only 1 radical, so no other confirmatory test is required. This is the test for magnesium. Last but not the least is group 0. जिसको हम लोग group 7b बोलते हैं. ग्रुप 0 ज़्यादा पॉपुलर है, जिसमें यू हैव एन अमोनियम सॉल्ट. अमोनियम कुड बी अ रैडिकल, अ cationic radical as well. There could be an ammonium salt, and for both ammonium and ammonia, so if it's an ammonium salt, with an alkali it will give you ammonia. Must have told you. Any ammonium salt with any alkali will give you ammonia. This is the rule. Any ammonium salt with any alkali will give you ammonia. So you can say group 0 the reagent is an alkali. The reagent is an alkali. In a salt, on adding NaOH, if you find a gas coming out with a particular smell, you know there is a particular smell of ammonia, whether it's ammonia or ammonium salt, the very popular test is K2HgI4 alkaline. K2HgI4 alkaline, which is called Nessler's reagent. It's called Nessler's reagent, and you get HgOHgNH2i. You get a brown precipitate. Of iodide of Millen's base. So with this we have completed the test the popular test, the most common test of all the radicals in our syllabus. Please keep this in mind, please recall it, please revise it several times. And a test like ammonia with HCl giving you white fumes of ammonium chloride, which settles down white, is very trivial. You know it before class 10. So this is a very trivial common test. This is a more popular test. Yet again in Nusselt's reagent, remember the medium has to be alkaline. The active species is HgI4 2-. Again we'll talk about it in problem solving. Ammonia or ammonium salt with Nusselt's reagent gives you a brown precipitate of iodide of Millen space. So with this we complete the test of all the radicals in our syllabus. Hope you're going to recall this and use it to very good effect in problem solving. This much for the time being. Thank you so much.